Hi, my name is Paya Bourgeois. I'm here today to talk to you about hydrogen sulfide gas. Hydrogen sulfide is a chemical compound, more commonly known as H2S or H2S gas. H2S is colorless, flammable, extremely hazardous. It has a rotten egg smell. It is heavier than air, and it collects in low-lying areas, basements, manholes, confined spaces, etc. You can find H2S naturally in crude petroleum, natural gas, hot springs. It's produced by bacterial breakdown of organic matter and human and animal waste. It can also be produced during refining petroleum products, drilling, water treatment, coke operations, tanneries, and craft paper mills. H2S can also exist in liquid compressed gases. H2S health effects is both an irritant and a chemical asphyxiant, which affects both oxygen utilization and central nervous system. Health effects can vary depending on the levels and concentration during exposure. Low concentration cause eye irritation, nose, throat, and respiratory systems. Moderate concentration can cause more severe eye and respiratory irritation, including coughing, difficulty breathing, accumulation of fluid in the lungs, headache, dizziness, nausea, vomiting, staggering, and excitability. High concentrations can cause shock, convulsions, inability to breathe, extremely rapid unconsciousness, coma, and even death. Effects can occur within a few breaths or even in just one breath. Exposure limits. OSHA permissible exposure limit, known PEL, exposure shall not exceed 20 parts per million, and that's the ceiling, which the following exception: if no other measurement exposure occurred during the 8-hour work shift, exposures may exceed 20 parts per million, but not more than 50 parts per million in a single period of time in 10 minutes. American Conference of Governmental Industrial Hygiene, ACGIH, threshold limit value is 1 part per million. The threshold limit value means that this is the amount of exposure you can experience in one work day throughout your work life experience. So only 1 part per million is the total limit value. National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health, NIOSH, recommended exposure limit is 10 parts per million for 10 minutes. Entering dangerous H2S atmospheres. A level of H2S gas at or above 100 parts per million is immediately dangerous to life and health, IDLH. Entry into IDLH atmospheres can only be made by a full-face pressure demand self-contained breathing apparatus, SCBA, which a minimum service life of at least 30 minutes. If H2S levels are above 100 parts per million, an air purifying respiratory may be used. If air concentrations are elevated, eye irritation may become a source issue. If a half-mask respiratory is used, tightly fitted goggles must also be worn. Workers in areas containing hydrogen sulfide must be monitored for signs of overexposure. Protection against H2S exposure. Before entering areas where H2S may be present, air must be tested for presence and concentration of H2S by a qualified person using air monitoring equipment such as hydrogen sulfide detector tubes or multi-gas meter that detect the gas. Testing should also determine if fire and explosion precautions are necessary. If the gas is present, the space and area must be ventilated continually to remove the gases. If the gas cannot be removed, the person entering the space and area must use appropriate respiratory protection and any other necessary protective precaution equipment. Rescue and communication equipment. OSHA's confined space standards contain specific requirements for identifying, monitoring, and entering confined spaces. It is very important to remember, never enter an area that has not been properly tested by a professional, especially if H2S is present. Another very important fact to remember is don't attempt a rescue in an area that contains hydrogen sulfide without using appropriate respiratory protection and without being trained to perform such a rescue. That includes the presentation for H2S today. I hope it was helpful, and if you have any other questions, we can continue talking about this at a later time over another forum. Okay, again, my name is Pio Bourgeois, and I hope this was informative to you.